my YouTube channel. My name is Danielle, but you can call me Danny, just Danny. So for today, we are once again in my mother's kitchen, and for this video, we're going to be making some burger with potato wedges. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I actually forgot to film the ingredients part, so we're gonna go straight to the procedure, but don't worry, I will be stating the ingredients as we go along, and I'm pretty sure you can also see them on screen. So let's go ahead and start with the procedure. So first you want to go ahead and wash your lettuce and tomato. I used a small head of lettuce and a big tomato, and I separated the leaves because I wanted to clean them all separately. Next up, I washed the potatoes. I cleaned them up really nicely because I was planning on making potato wedges with skin on them, but I chose to do otherwise. So you will be seeing me peeling these potatoes later on. Next up, you want to go ahead and cut your tomatoes. I cut mine very thinly because my family doesn't really like tomatoes all that much, but I still wanted to include it, so I just cut them up thinly so you wouldn't be able to taste it that much. Next up that we have is the sauce. So for this one, I just combined mayo, ketchup, and relish. You want equal parts mayo and ketchup, and 1/3 or 1/4 depending on how much relish you want on the sauce. I also added some salt and pepper for flavorings just to make the sauce a bit more flavorful and tasty. So next up that we have is onion. So you want to go ahead and cut off the top and bottom to make it easier to peel, but if you have a different method, then go ahead and do that. So for these onions, I'm actually gonna caramelize them, which is why I don't know why I cut them up into circles, but I did actually cut them into circles. So next up is the peeling of the potato. For the potato wedges, I actually used 3 large potatoes for this one. Next step is you want to go ahead and cut your potatoes. It's going to be a bit hard to cut them since they're so large, but you want to cut them into quarters and then cut them into wedges. So for some odd reason, the camera cut, so here I am showing how the potatoes turn into wedges. So next up is the frying of the potato. So I'm actually going to fry them twice. First fry is cooking it in medium heat just so you can cook the insides, and then the second fry is going to be in high heat to create a crispy exterior. Next up that we have is the patties. So we actually have half a kilo of pork meat. You can use any meat that you want as long as it's grinded. And then I added an egg yolk because I was following a Gordon Ramsay recipe for the patty. In my opinion, it doesn't really have much difference when I taste it, but you can go ahead and try it yourself and see if you have any difference, if you can see any difference. Next step we have is adding the salt and pepper You can add more seasoning like onion powder, garlic powder, but for this one I decided to be simple and just go with what I had in hand. So next up is frying the patties. I was actually shaping up the patties while frying, so I think that's not a very good idea, especially if you have small hands, because you can't flatten the patty up completely. So when you cook the patties, they actually shrink up and become smaller. So I suggest that you create a really big flat thin patty and then fry that up. So that's something to take into account for next time. Well, at this point, if you want cheesy patties, you want to go ahead and add your cheese. Make sure to use cheese that actually melts if you want a cheesy, melty cheese on your patty. So from the leftover oil of the patty, that's where I caramelize the onion, just so that the flavor of the patty that's put into the oil can actually be soaked up by the onions. And then in the same pan but cleaned up, you want to go ahead and toast your buns. I think you should not skip this step because toasting your buns can actually be a more positive thing. So it's more of a pro when it comes to making a burger, because it doesn't soak up the sauce as much, so it won't turn into like a soggy bread. So here it is, the final frying. So this is the frying that I was talking about, the high heat frying that will turn the exterior of the potatoes very crispy. So for this one, the cue that you're gonna see is that the edges of the potato will turn very golden brown. And also when you're stirring it up, you're gonna hear more of a crispy kind of thing, and they won't be sticking to each other, so they're gonna be separated. And then finally, you want to go ahead and assemble your burger. So first I put in sauce, as much or as little as you want. I prefer a very saucy burger because it adds the flavor. Next that you want to put is the lettuce, so it's going to be the bed of the patty. And then next the patty. And then actually I did this wrong, so I wasn't able to film the proper assembly. So first you want to go ahead and add the pickles first before the tomato, pickles and onions before the tomato, so they don't slide around when you try to close it. And here are some pictures of the results. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys again next time. Bye!